If you believe you've already understood the complete biblical account of human history, then the Book of Giants will challenge everything you think you know, as it unveils startling revelations about our real origins, far beyond the usual stories of prophets and holy battles. This long-buried text plunges into the hidden chronicle of the Nephilim, colossal beings born from the forbidden union between heavenly beings and humans, instead of offering moral teachings or spiritual instruction. This writing drags us into a realm of celestial conflict and cosmic downfall. In this concealed layer of ancient lore, archangels unsheathe their weapons, not to guide or shield humanity, but to confront these enormous hybrids, led by enigmatic figures like Or and Ma. The Book of Giants presents them as layered and conflicted. They're not outright villains, yet they aren't holy either. What defines a monster is redemption, even possible for those who brought ruin to the world. The text, preserved in several versions from the Dead Sea Scrolls to Manichaean manuscripts, explores these profound questions. The important detail, however, is that the Book of Giants remained tucked away from mainstream study, hidden deep within the obscure halls of esoteric tradition. Why was it excluded, and what truths lie inside? We uncover this in the new episode of Digging History. Welcome. The Book of Giants is an ancient Jewish work believed to have been written around the 2nd or 3rd century BC. It is known mainly through fragmented pieces discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran in the mid-1900s. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd chasing after a lost goat stumbled upon a cache of ancient scrolls concealed inside a cave, the mysterious Dead Sea Scrolls. The initial shock came from the sheer antiquity of the writings, predating known manuscripts by 1,000 years. Over the following decade, the rugged hills of Qumran produced an extraordinary collection. Thousands of fragments recovered from 11 separate caves. Within these discoveries were copies of every Old Testament book, except Esther, providing priceless insight into the development of biblical texts. But beyond the traditional scriptures, even more astonishing revelations emerged. Documents like the community rule and the war scroll revealed glimpses of a distinct religious sect, possibly the Essenes, and their ideals. Yet one particular text rose above the rest, not famous, but equally gripping the Book of Giants. But why giants?
We cannot turn back
and
now.
what makes this work so exceptional? The Book of Giants centers on the massive beings born from the mating of fallen angels with human women. These hybrids, known for their enormous stature and immense power, plunged the world into turmoil. Their unchecked actions, from stripping the earth of its resources to engaging in cannibalistic violence, triggered the need for divine judgment. Woven through this account are ominous visions foretelling their destruction, which would appear as the Great Flood. And in Genesis 6:4, the Bible declares that giants lived on earth in those days, that is, before the flood, and adds, and also afterward, key characters arise in this storyline. Enoch, celebrated for his righteousness, becomes the primary messenger, standing between the divine realm and the giants. Among the giants, figures like Oyahaya and Mawe appear vividly anxious over their fate as heavenly punishment approaches through its fractured passages. The Book of Giants casts a darker backdrop behind familiar biblical stories, hinting at a world where legend and history merge. The Book of Giants is not included in the biblical canon, but why not? When the criteria for forming the biblical canon were being set, several standards had to be met before a text could be accepted. During the early centuries of Judaism and Christianity, religious leaders worked to compile an authoritative list of scriptures, a canon that would define essential beliefs and practices. For instance, authorship needed to be attributed to an apostle or someone linked closely with apostolic authority. Furthermore, the writing had to be widely recognized by the early community, and its teachings had to align with Orthodox doctrine, showing strong spiritual and moral value. A particular interest is its adaptation into the Manichaean tradition. The founder of Manichaeism was a prophet named Mani. He is credited with composing one version of the Book of Giants. Mani grew up in southern Mesopotamia within a Jewish Christian sect known as the Elkasites. When he was 12, Mani began experiencing visions. These encounters eventually led to his expulsion, causing him to create his own religion. Some scholars believe Mani may even have used a spiritual title rather than a personal name. In Mani's edition, we find a story similar to the Qumran version, written in Syriac, an Eastern Aramaic dialect. It recounts the tale of demons descending from the heavenly realm and living among humans. While on Earth, these beings unleash destruction and disorder. This whole version focuses on an epic struggle between light and darkness, with armies led by the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. However, some elements within the Bible reflect themes found in the Book of Giants. The text expands upon Genesis chapter 6, specifically the story of the Nephilim described as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Likewise, Numbers 13:33 mentions the Nephilim, describing them as so massive that humans seemed like grasshoppers beside them. These references show that ancient Jewish culture treated the idea of celestial human hybrids as a genuine part of their worldview, supporting concepts in the Book of Giants. Because of the actions of these beings, a catastrophic flood was said to be sent to purge the earth. The Book of Giants states these beings were immense in size and possessed advanced knowledge, yet they brought corruption by teaching humans forbidden arts and hidden sciences, resulting in global disorder and moral collapse. The story recounts how two giants, Oya and Haya, experienced terrifying dreams that seemed to predict a devastating judgment. Enoch, a biblical figure associated with prophecy and divine revelation, interprets the dreams and confirms that a massive flood will wipe out the giants and restore the world. So what is the narrative told by the Book of Giants in the era before the Great Deluge? The Almighty God decreed that 200 of his heavenly angels descend to the earthly realm. These were the Watchers, named for their sacred duty to observe humanity from afar, guiding silently but never interfering. Their leader was Semiezer, entrusted with this tremendous charge. Semiezer supervised the entire assembly of celestial beings, ensuring the will of God was honored and his decrees remained unbroken. At first, the divine task seemed simple. The Watchers were to oversee fragile mankind and provide unseen guidance. For a time, they fulfilled this purpose flawlessly. But as ages passed, the radiant beauty of human women did not escape the attention of the Watchers. What began as harmless admiration slowly grew into an overwhelming desire. Even Semyaza, once steadfast in loyalty, felt himself drawn toward this forbidden longing. Falling to temptation, the Watchers took mortal women as partners, sharing with them heavenly knowledge and concealed mysteries. Azil, one of the prominent Watchers, went even further. He taught men warfare, weapon making, and planted the earliest seeds of violence in their hearts. From these celestial beings flowed knowledge both marvelous and deadly, ushering in a time of unprecedented disruption. But an even greater consequence loomed from the union of angel and human came the Nephilim, massive giants born from a forbidden bond. These towering beings devastated everything they encountered: the fields, the forests, the creatures, and the peace that once rested upon the land. Their endless hunger stripped the world barren, marking the beginning of divine judgment. When the last traces of wildlife disappeared, the giants, driven by their boundless appetite, set their terrifying gaze upon humanity. They seized humans, consuming them with chilling indifference. Still, their gluttony did not cease. And once mankind diminished, they committed the unthinkable, turning on each other in acts of cannibalism. In a short span, human civilization collapsed, their once thriving societies reduced to fading whispers of a world now lost. Yet from the depths of destruction, an unexpected transformation surfaced among certain giants. They began forming clans, imitating the early tribal ways of the humans they had wiped out. These were no longer the mindless monsters of ancient terror, but groups searching for belonging, craving a sense of order after chaos within these tribes. Emotions unfamiliar to such beings began to stir: uncertainty, remorse, contemplation, even fear. These feelings were foreign to creatures born from forbidden union and raw strength. Troubling dreams and haunting visions fell upon them, revealing an internal struggle, an awakening consciousness. Marwi, a giant recognized for his influence within one tribe, felt especially burdened by such visions. One night, as the dying glow of the campfire danced, he raised his voice heavy with dread.
Hold the line,
"Brothers," he said, drawing the attention of those nearby, "these dreams have troubled many. But tonight, I have witnessed something that may speak of our fate." The giants leaned closer. Entranced, I saw a stone tablet. Marwi continued, submerged beneath water. When I lifted it, 4 unknown names were carved into it. The names he said, after a tense silence, were Noah, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. The firelight danced across their massive forms, and a sense of dread washed over them. The mysterious names drifting through the night air felt like omens, stirring unease among the group. Marwi, deeply shaken, believed the names foretold their downfall. Oya stepped forward, his mere presence commanding silence, his lineage traced to the Watcher, Semyaza giving him a natural authority. His twin Ha hovered behind him, their connection to the Watchers a painful reminder of their celestial abandonment. Oya stared at Marwi in a silent challenge to his interpretation of the dream. Marwi then disclosed that insight had come from his father, Barakel, a revelation that only deepened Oya's resentment toward the angels who had forsaken them. Oya dismissed the visions as meaningless, recounting his own absurd dream of a maiden with a child to mock the significance. But as they discussed their collective dreams, filled with ruin and divine anger, Oya presented another thought. Perhaps these dreams were warnings not meant for the giants, but for the fallen angels. Like a Zazar who corrupted humanity, he argued that any coming punishment was likely directed at them. Yet doubt lingered in Aw's heart. The idea that they would escape the consequences of their actions felt wrong, and the notion of their fathers carrying the blame alone seemed flawed. Oya pointed toward a massive figure sitting apart from the fire, where light and shadow shifted across his colossal form. This was Gilgamesh, a name known for unmatched power. Without lifting his eyes from the flames, Gilgamesh admitted that though he held dominance over mortals, he could never rival the might of the divine, and added that the age of giants and wild men like himself was drawing to an end. The next night, their rest was again shattered by disturbing dreams, stirring new fears among them. This time, a magnificent garden became the center of their shared vision. But in the dream, this Eden transformed into a blazing inferno. Oya interpreted the 200 burning trees in the garden as symbols of their fathers. The Watchers, uncertain how to decipher these signs. One of the giants suggested seeking guidance from Enoch, revered for his wisdom. The idea spread quickly, gaining approval from many, though Oya bristled, feeling his influence slipping as murmurs rose. He roared to silence the group, furious that his leadership might be overshadowed by Enoch's insight. The giants now stood at a turning point, torn between their desire to understand the terrible dreams and their fear of Oya's wrath. Despite the tension, Marwi knew the matter could not be ignored. Considering Enoch's famed divine knowledge, he chose to seek him out. Marwi flew to the barren place where Enoch lived there. The scribe welcomed him, listening to Mara's troubling visions. Enoch, mindful of heavenly order, explained he could not interpret without divine aid. But seeing Mara's sincerity, Enoch offered to intercede before the Almighty on their behalf, regarding the disturbing dreams, moved by Enoch's promise. Reassured Ma, who prepared to return, obeying Enoch's warning not to fly too close to the sun, a caution that created mutual respect and hinted at future meetings as days passed without Enoch's response. The giants grew increasingly uneasy, their disturbing dreams continuing to torment them. Eventually, Enoch appeared, carrying a tablet that grimly signaled that divine judgment awaited the giants. Enraged Oya and his twin, Haya confronted Enoch with violent intent. Anticipating such hostility, Ma intervened, trying to ease the tension by reminding them of the looming divine punishment. Though Oya was fully prepared to challenge any celestial adversary, his hostility was not shared by many of the other giants. Unlike Oya's defiance, Ma and numerous others chose humility, hoping for mercy through sincere prayer in a moment of quiet regret. The giants knelt together, pleading for forgiveness. Even the normally unbending Oya had to face the gravity of their situation, realizing that seeking mercy might be their final hope against the wrath to come. Time moved forward, and just as Enoch had forewarned, the archangels descended to free the world from the tyranny of the giants. They unleashed an unyielding assault. Gabriel the archangel compelled the giants into battling each other, bringing about their destruction. Despite some giants crying for deliverance, Gabriel continued without mercy. Witnessing Gabriel's unrelenting judgment, Ma recognized that their fate was sealed regardless of their repentance. Soon, the earth was overtaken by the long-expected flood, with only an ark holding pairs of creatures protected from the devastation. Oya watched from a towering cliff, contemplating Ma's fate and the meaning of divine compassion. He questioned whether true mercy could exist within destructive angels and all-consuming waters seeking higher refuge. Oya and Haya climbed a mountain attempting to outrun the rising flood. But there they encountered a terrifying presence deep below, a massive dark-scaled creature glowing faintly with a purple hue. Its very existence sent chills through their immense bodies. It matched the ancient accounts of the Leviathan, a monstrous being feared in legend with incredible speed. The creature lunged, beginning a violent clash between the giants and the sea monster. Oya narrowly escaped the Leviathan's deadly strike at one moment, nearly losing his staff over the cliff. When he finally regained control, he looked up to see the immense head of Leviathan towering above, blocking out the sunlight. And to his horror, trapped within its jaws, was Haya limp and motionless. The sight of his fallen brother ignited a storm of rage within Oya. He hurled himself at the creature, striking its eyes with his staff. Every blow fueled by vengeance. After repeated hits, the staff slipped from his grasp, tumbling into the watery depths. Weaponless, Oya unleashed his raw strength, smashing the monster's head and tearing at its eyes. His relentless assault at last brought the Leviathan down, and the beast succumbed to the brutal fight hurled from the creature's body. Oya slammed against the cliffside, lying there overtaken by grief, triumph, and exhaustion. After what seemed like ages, he rose, watching the flood swallow the lifeless sea monster. As Oya drifted between laughter and sorrow, he was suddenly startled by the rush of wings. In an instant, he felt a blade pierce his body, mortally wounded. From behind, the urge to strike back at the angel who attacked him flared within him, but his limbs refused to move. Cold numbness spread, and his sight dimmed. The distant sound of an angelic trumpet echoed, signaling the flood reaching its peak as the waters climbed to the heavens. Life was wiped from the earth, leaving only Noah and his sons, whose names Ma once saw on the stone tablet preserved within the ark, along with animals of every kind. As the giants perished, their spirits did not find rest, burdened by resentment and a thirst for vengeance, eventually becoming malevolent beings. This is the condensed version of the tale preserved in the apocryphal Book of Giants, as mentioned earlier. The Book of Giants exists in multiple versions, one discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947, written in Aramaic, and another linked to Mani, the founder of the Gnostic faith of Manichaeism, dating to around 250 CE. Sadly, both versions, whether from the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Manichaean tradition, survive only in fragments with many missing portions, leaving us with an incomplete understanding of the narrative and its final message. Although the main storyline remains largely consistent, there are differences. For instance, in the Aramaic version, Enoch's unclear yet ominous warning leaves much open for interpretation, offering only the message that the giants, the sons of the Watchers, would face judgment for their destructive deeds. The tale ends abruptly, forcing us to imagine the ultimate fate of Mao, Oya, and Haya, though it is reasonable to assume their end mirrors the bleak downfall of their fathers, as recounted in the Book of Enoch. In contrast, the Manichaean version provides a slightly more complete, though still mysterious conclusion here. Oya and Haya, sons of two leading Watchers, engage with Amaza in a final confrontation against the biblical sea monster, Leviathan, and the Archangel Raphael. The role of Enoch is also worth examining. Enoch, portrayed with a distant, almost detached demeanor, seems to hover above the events, which aligns with the awe-inspiring and otherworldly experiences attributed to him during his cosmic journeys. Described in his own writings, Enoch himself remains a figure wrapped in biblical mystery, mentioned only briefly in Genesis 5:24, where it is said that God took him away. This mysterious line has led to extensive interpretation, some of which claim that Enoch was lifted into the heavens exactly as he was, without passing through death, as the great-great-grandfather of Noah. Enoch's ancestry adds an extra weight and mystery to Ma's vision of Noah's name carved onto the tablet, implying that only a descendant of someone as extraordinary as Enoch would be chosen to survive the coming deluge. In the Book of Enoch, Enoch is often pushed aside because the story is overflowing with astonishing moments.
It's okay, little one.
But he
You're
actually
safe
carries
now.
a crucial responsibility.
Almost there, sweet pup.
He serves as a
We've got
messenger
you.
between God and the rebellious angels, known as the Watchers, delivering the final verdict regarding their fate in the Book of Giants. Enoch takes on a similar role with the giants, the offspring of those same Watchers. He tries to offer a faint glimmer of optimism, especially to one giant named Maui. But God does not permit compassion. All Enoch can do is reveal that Their punishment mirrors that of their fathers. The Watchers in the Book of Enoch, the giants are depicted harshly. They are called Nephilim and are portrayed as savage and uncontrollable. They exist only to consume and destroy. They show no human behavior. They resemble beasts more than people. They do not speak or coordinate or create. They simply roam as creatures driven only by hunger and violence in the Book of Giants. However, the giants receive a portrayal with more depth. They experience disturbing dreams and express fear and uncertainty. They discuss their troubles and look for answers. This makes them appear more human, despite the harm they have caused. One of them, Ma, even tries to address their situation by seeking direction, which hints at the possibility of change and perhaps even redemption. But some argue the giants' actions stem from fear rather than sincerity in the Dead Sea Scroll fragments. The giants seem to turn to prayer only when desperate to preserve themselves, not from genuine faith or remorse. Marwi, for example, seems more worried about his personal safety, his food, and his comfort than about the destruction he and the others created. This self-centered mindset may be why their pleas go unanswered, and they ultimately suffer destruction. The presence of Gilgamesh in the Book of Giants is another intriguing element that reveals how the narrative interacts with other ancient traditions. It's likely the writers knew Mesopotamian myths, and the unusual name hints at a deliberate link to the hero of the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh. In the story, Gilgamesh displays the strength he is known for, yet even he hesitates when faced with the idea of opposing heaven. This may be the author's way of underscoring the unmatched might of the biblical god. If even a mythic powerhouse like Gilgamesh second guesses defying this divine authority, then ordinary people should pay attention. This depiction contrasts with the fearless Gilgamesh of Mesopotamian legend, who confronts every obstacle in the Sumerian tale. He is described as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, famed for extraordinary power and his pursuit of immortality, which drives him across distant lands through encounters with gods and beasts until he accepts that mortal life has limits and true immortality lies in the legacy one leaves behind in the Dead Sea Scroll version of the Book of Giants. Gilgamesh also plays a commanding role. He comforts Oya by saying, the frightening visions in their dreams are meant for human rulers. Instead, the moment the giants decide to reach out to Enoch shows the seriousness of their fear and the influence that Enoch held. Considering the world was in turmoil, Enoch's reputation must have been immense for the giants to even think of approaching him. This matters because it reveals their desperation. They turn to a human, something they would never do. Normally, the journey Ma makes to meet Enoch is also remarkable, described as a cosmic passage across multiple realms. Ma must pass the sun to reach the barren region where Enoch dwells. This echoes the Book of Enoch, in which Enoch travels through dangerous supernatural realms led by angels. In some retellings, Ma is even shown flying an ability inherited from their angelic fathers. Even though the giants in this account seem to have developed awareness and some level of order among themselves, they still lack understanding of the world's natural limits, shown by their confusion about the risks of flying close to the sun. When Ma reaches Enoch to ask about the troubling visions haunting the giants, Enoch does not give an answer immediately. Instead, he vows to seek clarity from God.
There you go,
After
good
trying
job.
to meditate on the matter, Enoch is unable to obtain relief for them, and all he can provide is the same severe tablet that sealed the fate of the Watchers. Yet the tablet does suggest a faint thread of rescue through repentance. So in the end, the Book of Giants is compelling, because it not only expands on the story of the Nephilim, but also paints a more layered portrait of these mysterious beings, showing them as figures who can display insight as well as corruption. It is a striking example of ancient Jewish apocalyptic writing, offering a window into the spiritual and cosmic ideas of that era, whether from the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Manichaean tradition. Both versions emphasize the capacity of angels to act outside divine intention, the dangerous outcomes of their mingling with humanity, and the threat the giants bring into creation. But why does the Book of Giants matter? Because it pushes us to think about what unfolds when the divine structure is broken. It's not a simple tale of angels and giants clashing. It is a warning about the disorder that erupts when sacred limits are crossed, far from being a straightforward conflict between light and darkness. It is a layered story that makes us reconsider the deeper cost of our choices, whether heavenly or earthly. As this ancient account closes, we are left asking, what kind of legacy do we, in our own age, risk leaving behind when we ignore the sacred and natural laws that shape our world? If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor. Hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us out.